So I'm actually just starting my 4th month as the CEO of Family Equality Council. What we are, for those of you who are looking to be parents, what we are is the national organization representing families, LGBTQ families, and pushing for rights. We also are equally about families in formation, or LGBTQ people who need families. So that includes the 400,000 LGBTQ homeless youth on the streets who need families, and also the 2 million LGBTQ parents who are looking to either foster care or adopt. So we're about all of those things. We will be here for you after you are parents. Every late July, early August, we host the largest gathering of LGBTQ families in the world. It's out at P-Town. It's a full week. It's called Family Week, and it's awesome. So put that on your calendar. And actually, even when your child is an infant, there are things that you will enjoy. But it goes all the way through until kids graduate from college. So try to keep that in mind. We have both policy work, which just ramped up as of last Tuesday, and then we've got program work. Our program work, just 2 things that I'm going to talk about real fast before we get started. One thing is called Outspoken Generation, and it basically is exactly what we're doing here tonight. Our kids here tonight aren't, and they're not kids, they're young adults. They're not part of our Outspoken Generation group, but this is exactly what we do. There is a power that comes from our youth that needs to be heard, and with the new administration, it will need to be heard more than ever. So it gives the kids a chance to talk about the sacredness of LGBTQ families, the safety and the need for LGBTQ families, and that has a real role to play in the whole LGBTQ movement. The other thing that I'll mention, just because there is a grandparent or two here, is we've got a program called Pearls of Wisdom. And this is the opportunity for our grandparents to also chime in. Because again, these are the stories, the radical right we're never going to get to, but the stories of our children and the stories of our grandparents, and again, about the sacredness of family and the safety of family. It's equally important to hear from that, and it can affect the people in the middle, even if it can't get to the people on the right. So with that, I'm going to let each of our panelists introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Eleanor, and I'm 15 years old. I have 2 dads and a twin brother. We live in the Bronx in New York City, and I was born through surrogacy. Yeah.
Great.
I'm Leave. I'm 14 years old. I've got a sister and 2 dads. We live in Albany, New York, and I was born through surrogacy.
Hi, I'm Zachary. I'm 22. I have 2 dads and a brother. I was born through surrogacy, and then my dad went on to create a company called Circle Surrogacy to further help people have kids.
Okay, great. So I'm going to ask questions that any of them can jump into. They don't have to all answer the same question. And then we'll have an opportunity to take questions from any of you. So first, so how do you describe your families to other people? And has that changed over time?
So I describe my family as having 2 dads who are married to each other. They're gay, obviously. Yeah, so I say I have 2 dads, and I was born through surrogacy. And if whoever I'm talking to doesn't know what that is, I can explain it to them, and if they have any other questions, I'll answer them. It just, the general summary of my family is I have 2 dads and a brother, and I was born through surrogacy.
Yeah, I would say the same. If I'm explaining to someone about my family, I'd be like, yeah, I have 2 dads, and if for some reason they didn't know that, they'll probably be like, what? And I'll be like, yeah, I've got 2 dads, and I've got a sister, and I'll sort of And then they'll be like, I never knew that. But then I'll be like, well, yeah, it's not like we're going to be any different than you. It's just like having, well, it's not just like having a mom and a dad, but it's like, it's not really negative in any way.
I would say my family is made up of two dads and a brother. I think it has changed the way I would describe it over time. I would say when I was much younger, people really didn't know what it meant to have two dads, so I had to explain that I was born through surrogacy, that my parents asked a woman to help them have a kid. She donated an egg and then carried us for 9 months, and then they're married, and so they're my parents. Before I really knew what surrogacy was or how anything had worked, I had to ask my parents, why does everyone else have a mom and I have two dads? And then they explained that to me, and I would explain that to other people. I live in Boston, so it's pretty liberal, and I feel like at that point people really know what it means to have two dads. So more recently, I can just go up to people and I'll just say I have two dads, and people are like, oh, okay, cool. So it has definitely changed for me over the years.
Great. Liv and Eleanor, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bronx, New York, Riverdale.
For 5 years of my life, I grew up here, and then we moved to Albany. And then I spent the rest of still spending my childhood there. And, yeah.
So a couple follow-up questions from that. Just, did you, growing up, did you have other LGBTQ families, or were you the only one in your school or in your class?
Well, for me, we had family friends who had LGBTQ families. Some had kids, some didn't. In school, not really. I mean, there was one kid a few grades down with two dads, but not really in my school. But in my life, yes, there were LGBTQ families.
Yeah, I would say the same. Yeah, I mean, we have some very close LGBTQ families who are very close family friends, but then in my school, it's like not really.
I would say that when I was younger, my parents used to introduce us more to LGBTQ families, but as I've gotten older, that hasn't been as much the case. I think it's interesting to note that family doesn't really matter who's in it, whether it's a man and woman, two men or two women, and I think it's been pretty normal growing up knowing people who are straight families, and that's how it's been more recently than it was a long time ago.
Great. So one more question before we move on is just, as you talk about your family, is there a classic stupid question that you get, or something that you find like you roll your eyes and answer it over and over again because people ask it?
Well, when I first tell someone, or when someone first asks me, who's your mom? What's your mom's name? Something about my mom. I say, I don't have a mom. And then, so the first thing that comes to people's minds is not that I have two dads. If I say I have two dads, the first thing that comes to their mind is someone was divorced somewhere or something like that. Not that they're gay and they're married. So that's the first question that usually comes up. And then the second one is usually, are you adopted? And then the answers to both of those are no. My parents are not divorced. My parents are married to each other. I was not adopted. I was born through surrogacy.
Yeah. The first question that they always ask is, oh, well, which one's your dad and which one's Cece's? Or do you both have the same dad? And I'm like, I just find myself explaining that, like, just answering that over and over. Like, even to people who I've already told. It's like, this one's my dad. This one's Cece's dad. It's like, so that one's the one I encounter most, I think.
Wow, I don't feel like I've had any of those questions. Maybe I've just been pretty good at explaining it when I was younger, but I would say I really haven't encountered many of those
Great.
stupid questions.
Good.